No, you can just go down this one. Hello? Oh, this is, again, cleaned up. Everything is so much more cleaned up. My mind also might be mixing with Ruin a little bit, but I remember just Security Breach still being very messy everywhere. Okay. So, then there's this. This is loading Roxy Raceway because this is actually going to be a port out to Roxy Raceway. Yeah, functioning windows. Oh, and you can see Bonnie Bolt. And Bonnie Bolt can see Roxy
No
Raceway.
way.
That wasn't a thing. This used to be like a bunch of, like this was all like boarded up and tarped, and there was like a message back here in a urinal, but not a urinal, outhouse, but that's it. But now they reveal it because you can actually go to the beauty salon. Oh, oh boy. Well, I'm not trying to sequence break. I think I'm gonna go back. I don't want to sequence. Oh. Well, we can maybe work with this. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe we can work with this. Fun fact, after 6 a.m. you can go backstage and turn off the generator to enable free roam night lighting. There you will be stalked by Moon and Vanny. You will be able to spawn randomly. Does it... I'm assuming it still has the 6 a.m. save then? But that's really fun. Go to that building with the water tower in the corner of the raceway. Oh, okay. Just release one version for PS4 that doesn't have all these hallways. Wallet? That's sick. We found somebody's wallet. Okay, let's go in here. Where's this gonna go?
Oh, okay, so it wants
It goes
2 of those.
to
Nope, that's not it. That one.
A new room with like multiple split paths. I have no idea where I am. What is this? Maybe look at Nessa. I'm like an employee on his first day on the job. Where am I? What? What's this? Security? Can't go in there. Oh, it's Bowser Blast. Okay, you can use the wallet on ATM. I think you're capping, because I mean you can't use collectibles in this game. No, it's a true thing. Okay, well let me find an ATM. I guess you use the fridge magnet. No, you're right. My bad. Hold on, you can use wallet on ATM to get coin. They give coin to a bot in the prize counter. Okay, that's super cool. See, that doorway makes a lot of sense, despite, you know, it maybe lagging a bit. Which, there's a lot of broken ATMs. Which ATM are we talking about here? This is... Oh. Oh. So do we trade the wallet? No, we still have the wallet. You got any more loot in that wallet? And then we'll be able to use this elevator. Oh, what the hell? There's a vent. Oh my gosh, there's 2 doors. Holy crap. I mean, is this just gonna lead to the atrium or what? Oh, it leads, yeah, to the kitchens in the atrium. Oh my gosh, this isn't an elevator anymore, it's a staircase. Getting ahead of myself, this is so much. This is gonna lead back in there. This one will probably be a similar door.
Okay, so then 2 of those right there.
So the elevator is now a staircase, and there's 2 staircases.
And then that right there.
Whoa! That's different. Wait, what?
afraid the doors to the atrium are locked as well.
Whoa.
This is not standard procedure. You should look for the security office on the top floor.
Usually this only happens when you enter the security office. I miss the twinkly lights. Bring back the twinkly lights. I like there's like an announcer that tells you your repair progress. Hype up the employees. Employee 937 has flipped 3 out of the 4 breakers. The minimum wage employee definitely gets a boost from this. What is this? Oh, is this like the super trippy arcade? The Hive room? Yeah. All like the driving sims. Oh my gosh, it looks crazy lit correctly. I skate on your grave. I'm thrashing boards and trashing gourds. Whoa. Oh, I'm glad they found a place for it. What the hell? This is wild. Wait, what the hell's this? So many doors. Another one. What if you just go in there during this chase? There's another one right here. What? Wait, I could have just gone in here the whole time. Is this openable? What if I start the chase and then just go in there? Wait, was that a Bonnie cutout I just lit up? Oh. Okay. Another one. What if you just go in there during this chase? There's another one right here. What? Wait, I could have just gone in here the whole time. Is this openable? What if I start the chase and then just go in there? Wait, was that a Bonnie cutout I just lit up? Oh. Okay, they worked that out. Music Man throws things to block. Well, hold on. Odd. I mean, you know, you're having to switch one of the game sequences
It's
to
just
make
gone.
these extra hallways work. Any particular reason that I can't have my save station? I don't know. It's like that in the base game. I'm pretty sure you get it back after this is all said and done.
Doing it on a live stream.
Holy smokes. This goes to Bonnie Bolt. I'm gonna go to the prize counter before I do 6 a.m. So like I'm gonna do L chips and stuff before 6 a.m. because well apparently there's like stuff that. Who was in front of me? Who was in front of me for a frame? There was someone in front of me for a frame. It was a party pass bot. Interesting. So the game was like checking if I'd gotten that door. This is new. I guess hey, with this door all the way up, it would make sense to have a menu here. Oh, shit, that makes me hungry. I'm gonna need to have a quick snack break pretty soon. The loaf one sounds. Oh shit! There's no more walls. That makes a lot of sense. There's no tunnel that leads there. It's just restaurant. Which is, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, there's more seating and stuff. Besides that, I think it's mostly the same because they just added more to make up for. This sign is new. Prize counter this way. God damn, I wish they made it that clear in the main game. Okay, this skips like this. Oh, right, no, but I don't get the security badge. I can still come in here, but I don't get the security badge. I do want the security badge. Okay, that's not good. Double camera canceled, but she was like permanently sliding at me. Whoa, atrium. Okay, this is like a new back hallway. Sailor's Vault Edition. I think that's new. We'll read through some later. That's also new, I think. And then again, yeah, this, you're actually actually seeing below. It's not just a goofy ass dome. You can actually see stuff. Look, you can see how the elevator connects. Ooh, that's cool. Where does this go? The arcade. Frozen Freddy treat. Or it won't because I've like. Wait, what? I don't want to like trigger an ending. Let me save. Wait, why are these gates both closed? Wait a second. Oh! That's not a thing. Kill, if this doesn't trigger the fire ending, where's the fire ending?
I cannot believe you were able to collect enough toys to become a VIP.
No way! Is that cut? The way they explain it after the fact. What's... So this is the ending. But I need to have 6 a.m. to activate it, I think. But yeah, okay. Huh. Little extra hallway. And so it explains you reached VIP. Why do you look so wide? You reached VIP status, so later on you can get an ending sort of thing. That's really fun. Elevator time, maybe. Why is it just a shaft? Oh, it's down there. Can I call it up? I don't really want to just go down the shaft. I don't want to get stuck. Well, fuck it.
Come on out.
Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So this is the only elevator in the game, maybe. I bet the after ending is elevator's still there, but that's so wild. Turn around? Oh, so you can watch things go up and down? Okay, well, we'll go back down. True, it's an actual elevator. No, true. It's not just a teleporter. This is an elevator that moves up and down. Never before seen things. Okay, wait, I don't have another Faz pass or whatever. Like, I can't do Chica before 6 a.m., right? Actually, wait a second. I just can do Chica now? I mean, I'd rather that so that I can save along the way.
It must be the members of
Oh.
Oh! Why didn't they add this guy in? We're like finally seeing what all the staff bots in the extras menu were for. Oh, does that mean that in this minigame there's gonna be those funky green... Oh shit! We're gonna have the aliens! Look, the alien helmets! Glorp! Glorps! A bunch of glorps! We have Glorp with a ribbon.
Hey, Steph.
Oh my
I
gosh!
found a YouTube flavor.
I way prefer these alien staff bots. Why the hell were these not used? What reason is there for not using an existing staff bot look? Because like a lot of the cut content, you understand why they cut it. You know, random room number 507. But I mean, the 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 look they made specifically for these robots to just not use them, just because. For what? This is gonna brick something. It'll unload. I'm going back. Well, that was just like so subtle. It's so nice. Such a simple change, making the aliens look like the bad guys look like aliens. So we're in. Time to see how many doorways just connect to everything. Because this has been the last area I haven't unlocked, and there just seems to be so many ways in. Liminal hallway for real. Dude, this... Okay. Next to the bathroom. It's next to the other bathroom, yes. Suddenly I'm in the arcade. Wait a second. Huh. I mean, it makes sense. They are right beside each other. It's not lost on me. Because actually, we've used a skip to go through this wall to the arcade before. Like, I think we Freddy Deloaded through. This is the only, like, cool looking bot that actually made it into the game. Oh, look at this! There's like 2 layers of windows here or something. Which kind of makes sense, but it's really fun. And it's actually loaded. It's not just a still image. Look at that. It's all connected. Oh. Oh, this is like a... This is like
Is
a
this
ruined
the...
hallway.
No.
Oh. So this goes behind all the machines and stuff. There's another collectible here. PQ1 maintenance lab? And this goes up the other side. Okay. And this goes downstairs to right. Roxy Raceway. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Oh, and now I can't go through this door. Okay, well, I found a bug. Oh, interesting. Oh, this would have made no jumping impossible.
No,
Little setup.
you are a loaf slave to a statue of loaf.
Oh, and then, I mean, this makes sense. Again, I've gone through this wall. Like, I know that this is here, but to actually go through it is... So, this door could theoretically... Wait, what? Lydia's gone. This door could theoretically lead to Vanny's room. But it just, like, didn't line up. I don't remember what gift box Lydia is, so I can't even say... We'll find her. In the base game, if you cram yourself against that door, it actually opens the Phaser Blast map. The door does connect, but the room for story reasons alone is not accessible. No, that makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. And boom, I'm just in the arcade. That's so funky. And then, yeah, no, just you know, making my way down to the kitchen, as you do.
Do not hear the unknown, but be warned. The unknown is both dangerous and uncontrollable at all times.
Wait, Magician bot? Wait a second. Oh. There's now a different bot on stage. And this is the suit one that we saw earlier. This base game? Never really looked. Maybe I did. There's a door here. Which goes up to a new utility tunnel. Oh my god, what is this? Tortured staff bot? Oh my god. Poor guy. Pizza Kit.
What?
Criminal. You got any doorways in here? You got any doorways? Oh, these are like the green dead staff bots. They're just like in pieces all over here. Vanny boss battle. Can you stun Vanny? So now we've done something that I've maybe never done in this game. Probably have, to be honest. Let's be honest. But I did Chica and Mossy before Roxy. Which feels illegal, but there's no real reason that it's gonna mess anything up, I don't think. Roxy's boss fight will soft lock you? Why? After Roxy's boss fight, you never get back the ability to save, and Moon insta-kills after her repair. Is that because I did the Chica repair? Well, I shouldn't actually need Roxy for anything, do I? Because, you just get her eyes. So I can... Oh, this connects to here. Whoa, okay. Yeah, sure, that kind of makes sense, I guess. Trippy.
The puppet? What the fuck?
And the room randomizer is this? Yeah. Oh, there's another one. Okay, cool. So this leads into here. Understandable. This leads into here. Understandable. Which leads into here. Which leads back to there. Right. I get it. I understand. Does this go somewhere? Well, these are out of order. so again, it's like a door you go in before you go to the ending. That's the same thing that they did with the fire ending. Is they gave it one little extra hallway.
At some point, you're gonna bash through a door and end up in Poppy's playtime or something.
This is base game. Although I remember seeing this and being like, I can't believe I've never seen this before. I don't know. It's just such a unique room for having effectively nothing. Yeah, that sucks. The power just like off on instantly. Does the mod make the game better? There's some little things that are absolutely without a doubt better, but the whole everything being interconnected it's debatable whether or not it's better. I'm not sure about that. Different, not better. So. Darn. So this guy's always been this funky green one, hey? So that's where that comes from. So security breach fixed? No. Security breach's problem wasn't that it didn't have enough interconnecting hallways. And in fact, the only reason that the interconnecting hallways were removed, well, probably one of the reasons, is because the game just gets too laggy when you try to load too many zones at once. But no, there are still fundamental issues. I'm fast, but I just have the normal game upgrades. I have the boots. Why it doesn't add the cut extra doorways in the pizza sim building? Hashtag no. I cut content mod. Fair enough. I did not expect anything. I'm just here because it's a good way to end the security breach run. Maybe they fixed the after the boss fight. I don't think so. I don't think it's cut content. I think it's just bad. This is the opposite of cut content. Should have been cut content. Those feet are not new. Maybe you just, between the last time you saw it and now, you just started paying attention to feet more.
What is that thing?
Is this new?
It's 5 a.m. and I got 4% left.
Wait, if you're watching, text me.
This exploded machine is capable of a marvelous feat. These parts, when assembled correctly, are able to interact with this silver plastic thing and make melodious sounds for you to enjoy in the highest of fidelities. Am I being vague? Maybe. Well, more specifically, this is a compact disc player, the innards of a Magnavox CDB-260, made in August of
Decided to boost my audio.
He's been such a good boy. He's always been a good boy, and look what someone's done to him. They've been awful to him. We need to rescue him. Seriously though, look at this guy. He's got such haunting eyes and a nice big grin on his face. He's happy and terrifying. First up, what are we dealing with? Computer game. Power off before remove or insert cartridge. Output voltage, DC 10 volts. Well, that's supposed to be input voltage. Max current, 850 mega amps. Case sensitivity is important with SI units. Made in Taiwan. Okay, so that's a bit different to usual. That's good. On the back, we've got AV and RF output. The RF dates this thing a lot. This is probably 90s. AC adapter input. On both sides, we've got controller inputs. These look like 15-pin Famicom controller ports. On the top, we've got an eject button, so they must have been kind of taking this seriously. We've got a cartridge slot with one half of the door. I think the other half is what's rattling around inside. I reckon someone's been in this good boy before, because the power and reset buttons look like they've been swapped around. Ooh, that's seen some work, that controller. The buttons are all labelled, but it's so worn away. I will not be surprised if this controller doesn't work, and even this slightly better one is still very worn, and one of the screws is missing. If you hadn't guessed already, this is a Famicom clone, or Famiclone. The Famicom was the Japanese version of the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. But I think this one's a little bit more interesting than your average NES clone. And who can leave a good boy this sad without helping? Like the original Famicom, the controllers slot into the sides, except unlike the original Famicom, both the controllers are the same, so you get one cable hanging out the front. As usual with the lowest quality of game systems, it doesn't tell me which way around the DC polarity has to be, which connection in here is positive or negative. But with a Meganeer, it's very easy to find out. When my probes touch together, I get a beeping noise. The outside of AV connectors are always connected to negative, so I just have to probe in the power connector and see which one connects through. In this one, it's the middle. So this is an official Nintendo Famicom power supply, and it matches this perfectly. They didn't change a thing. I'm going straight for the AV output. Wait a minute. Video and audio have the wrong colours. They're
for a
swapped
white one.
around. Video is meant to be yellow and audio is meant to be white. I wonder if they got this wrong in the factory and then just changed the labelling. Video into white, audio into yellow. I don't think this one does, but sometimes these things have got games built in. I'm going to just try powering it on. At least we got a power light, but nothing else. Let's smash a Famicom game in there and see if it works. No. Okay, good boy is sadder than I thought. That smile's a lie. You need surgery. And plastic surgery. Don't worry, I'll be gentle. Open wide. Got a cartridge flap here. Got a spring here. I guess that's probably from the cartridge flap. Oh, the circuit board is broken down there. I wonder if this is the cause of our problems. That little thing labelled ECB, that tells me that's supposed to be a transistor, like this one here, except it's just some broken legs sticking up out of the circuit board. Or there's another little spring that just came out of there. Maybe, I don't know, that's for something. These buttons are both the same, so they're just meant to have a terrible angle. These switches are all over the place though. Someone has been beating on the good boy real hard to get the motherboard out of here. So firstly, is this broken piece of circuit board a problem? No, it is not. It hasn't broken any traces of the door anywhere. Someone has been in here before though. There's a patch-up job here on the RF connector. And there's a couple of bad solder joints, but none that I can see on anything that will make any difference. This board here has two functions. First, it takes the 10 volts DC and drops it down to 5 volts DC for the motherboard to run. And second, it takes the audio and video from the motherboard, firstly sending them out the back as AV, and second, converting them to a TV station and sending them out through the RF connector. That was to use it with TVs before AV was a standard. This board is where all the magic happens. There's a clock section over here to make sure everything is synchronized. We've got a CPU and a graphics chip here. These chips are very interesting because they're clones of the original NES chips, and they're even socketed, so I can easily swap these out for some original chips later to see if this thing works any better that way, if we can get it working in the first place. And 2 RAM ICs here. The rest are just discrete logic to tie everything together. So this console doesn't have any games built in, cartridges only. So, this missing transistor here, after tracing out everywhere that it leads to and figuring out what it does exactly, I've decided that it's actually been cut off on purpose, and the original Famicom schematic just looks like this. So that's not our problem. The first thing to do is to check that we've actually got voltage here. We've got 5 volts, that's near enough anyway. Next I need to see if the reset circuit's working. This should go down to 0 volts when I push the reset button. It does, so the reset circuit is working. I wonder if this is actually just a video fault and I'm just not hearing anything because I haven't pushed start yet. Probably not. Probably the thing's just not working. Although I have just decided to swap to a game that has title screen music. Oh!
Video's not working. That's what it is.
It just doesn't have video or good sound, but I don't think we can do much about that. Alright, oscilloscope time. This is the video output from the graphics chip, or PPU, picture processing unit. Somewhere between the PPU and the AV connector, we're losing our video signal. Now there are some components between here and there, so I can't just connect a wire to patch the gaps. But before I go chasing anything on this board, I'm going to check the link to the board at the back. And we do have video there, so the problem is on this little back PCB, so ouch! Oh, that's hot! So the problem's on this little back PCB that I just burnt myself on. Unless of course I've actually got video at this RCA connector and it's just my cables, but no I don't. So now I'm just tracing through and finding where the video signal stops. Okay, so before I tip this over and short everything out on the power switch, I'm going to show you a little trick. These things are getting...
Oh!
I'm sure you can
Wow!
$1 million for no money on the internet. This is the jumper off the back of an old IDE CD-ROM drive or hard drive.
Well, that's interesting.
Unplug the power switch, plug this guy on there, and now we've got power. No risk of shorts, except for all the other stuff up the other end of the board. Video here, jumps across the video here. How you going? Oh! Is that it? The video is being lost right here. This is the solder point for the RCA connector. Well, I'm going to fix that up, and I'm going to touch up some of these other solder joints too. This one's obviously cracked. And we're going to plug it in now. It should come on immediately. It's more than we had. Wow. Whoa. Okay. Apparently, earthing my oscilloscope fixes the picture. That is quite strange because this oscilloscope should be isolated from this other than this one wire. I wonder if it's just anything touching it. No? No, it wants my oscilloscope attached. Why? That is bizarre. Okay, I think I know what's going on here. To see if I'm right, I'm going to earth this jumper lead and then clip it onto the video connector. Ah, this is a terrible design. On the back of the board here, there are traces connecting all of the earths from these 2 RCA connectors together, one being RF, one being video. But then those traces aren't connected to anything else. The outside of these 2 connectors are not earthed at all, and you need to complete the circuit for the video to work. This audio one is earthed, so on most TVs that would make it work, except for the RF, that'll never work. But on my setup, I have the audio going to somewhere different to the video, so they're not earthing together through the TV. All I have to do is put a great big solder blob in the middle between these 2 connectors,
So,
and
it's
my
simple.
problem is fixed. Good.
Literally.
So, controllers. Well, this one's mostly...
That's
working.
impressive.
You've got to push the D-pad really hard. There's this weird shape on top too. Too bad. This one. Wow, it actually does work. You have to push it even harder though. Yeah, all the buttons work. Okay, so hopefully these controllers just need a bit of a clean up and then we can get on to the good boys plastic surgery. Yep, that's a blob chip. Ugh, look at the filth. That's nasty. Into the soapy water. My container looks like it might not be big enough. This is just dishwashing detergent and warm water. Oh, my container leaks. That's great. I'll put that aside to brew. Gotta get that flavour out. This is called a stress relief. It's supposed to stop the cable from bending sharply at the edge of the controller. I don't know if you can buy these separately, but I just use terrible controllers and steal them off those. These can be quite hard to remove off the cables because they're not supposed to come off. I like to use a very small flat blade screwdriver. They're usually only glued at the top end here. Sometimes they're glued all the way though. You just keep working your way around the cable, sliding it between the cable and the stress relief until you think it will probably let go. And then it probably won't, and you'll probably have to struggle more, and then eventually it will. So I've got a little bit left over on the inside, but that doesn't matter at the moment. I definitely recommend you don't do this with your fingers, but I'm using a drill bit about the same size as the cable I want to use in this stress relief, just to finish cleaning it out.
The hell?
So hopefully that's ready to go, and I'm very impressed by how almost exactly the same it is to the original one. And from there, hopefully it's just a matter of desoldering the cable, taking off the old stress relief, sliding
But
the
there's
new one
nothing
off,
that holds it in
securing
place.
with a
It just...
And look at that. They look like...
Really?
Well, they still look like trash. But they should at least be
Okay.
functional trash. I've got all the directions so far. I've got shoot. I've got bomb. So that controller works.
Knock
So
it
I've got
over,
the
it's
other
gonna
one.
fall out,
Oh
I would guess.
no! I can't bomb. It seems, depending on how I move the cable, this button can do all sorts of different things, including pausing it. Yeah, so moving the cable around
Although I bet
disconnects it
I
a
didn't
lot.
cover it.
There are broken wires in here somewhere. That means cutting it off and starting again. I wish I could actually do this in time lapse, but only you get
Yeah,
the
they
time.
are.
Not fair. But
Going to.
now this should work. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Bomb, bomb, bomb. Start. Start. Oh, okay, I had to wait for the music to finish. I think this controller came up even better than the other one. This is actually fine to play with. Now, before we address the Good Boys battle wound, I want to have another look at these chips here. Firstly, I was spot on when I said the RF on the back of this dates this as 90s. Every chip on here that has a date stamp I understand is dated about halfway through 1992. So this is an old Famicom, and an illegal one, because Nintendo's patent on the Famicom didn't expire until 2003. The ones you get nowadays are legal, so long as they don't have bootleg games on them, which they all do. Now, as I was saying before, these two chips, the CPU and PPU, are clones of their counterparts in the NES and Famicom. More specifically, these two are clones of the PAL versions of these chips. PAL is one of the two big video formats that we use throughout the world, the other being NTSC for Japan, America, and a few other places. But the Famicom is NTSC, so apparently there are some differences in these chips to allow for better NTSC game compatibility, but this is the first time I've ever heard of NTSC, Famicom, or NES games not working properly in a PAL console, except for running slow because of the refresh rate difference on PAL. However, these clones have a problem with the audio. The CPU has a bug where two of the audio modes were swapped around by accident. So I borrowed the original Nintendo chips out of my Australian NES. They weren't socketed in that, so it was a bit of a pain. And we're going to compare the clones to the originals, see what we get. First, the clone chips.
It's running a bit slow. You can hear it.
You can hear the slowness if you're familiar with Super Mario Brothers.
It's just easier to put these pieces on in my hand rather than trying to do it out here.
Oh. So these are the genuine Nintendo chips that I've got in here. I'm not actually 100% sure that this is even going to work. So here's hoping. Oh, it does. Excellent. Let's see if this sounds any different. Actually, we should see if it looks different too. Here's the clone PPU, and here's the genuine PPU. I think the clone PPU is a little bit more saturated in the colors. Now, what about the sound? Let's see if that's any different. Whoa.
Oh. Yep.
Definitely different. Wow.
It's the wrong pitch and the wrong tempo.
That must be the NTSC compatibility they were talking about. I'm going to go back to the clone audio and see what that sounds like again. So instead of swapping both the chips back, I'm just swapping the CPU. I just want the audio to change. But I'm interested to see if the CPU is compatible with the original PPU too. It is. Yeah, wow. So the clone CPU actually changed the audio to correct the pitch. It's pretty crackly at times, but I think the fixed pitch is worth dealing with the crackle, even if two of those audio modes are swapped around and it's not quite as accurate. But honestly, because of the speed difference, I can't tell. Whoa! Okay, So, I didn't introduce what I'm doing here. This is a genuine NTSC CPU. I don't even really know what's happening here, to be honest. I thought the clock speed of a PAL unit was lower, but maybe it's higher with a different multiplier or something. So putting an NTSC CPU with a PAL PPU and a PAL crystal ends up with way faster audio. And when I say faster, I actually mean each sound is played faster, which pitches it up. That goes so high pitched. Well, I suppose I've come this far. I need to try an NTSC PPU in this system and just see what happens. I'm pretty sure the screen won't even synchronize. I don't think it's going to work at all. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, because the clock signal is wrong for this PPU. And it's wrong for the CPU too, but that doesn't affect things as badly. It is actually running, it's just that it's way out of spec, so the screen can't do it. Oh, I died. So I expect the PAL CPU with the NTSC PPU and the PAL clock crystal is going to have the same visuals, but it'll play with slower sound. Yeah, lower pitched sound is what I really mean. So including the clones, there are 3 different audio pitches you can choose from based on which CPU you put into your NES or Famicom or whatever. The results will be different in NTSC region consoles. And in fact, if you have an NTSC clone and you swap the chips for genuine NTSC chips, the audio pitch won't change at all. It'll be perfect and the quality will improve. It's only on the PAL clones that there's not really a better option. I just don't think there were any genuine PAL CPUs with the audio pitch stuff. The only PAL system I can think of which takes NTSC games is the Hong Kong Famicom, and that goes about this a whole
Only 1/3
If
done.
you really want to be a good boy, this crack is not good for
Not
you.
even
You
actually.
gotta get rid of it. Oh, there we go. That's promising. Now I do realize I'm not going to get rid of this completely, but I'm going to do my best to improve it. I need something to hold this together while I repair it from the other side. I can't just use normal tape because when you heat it, it stretches, and you bet I'm going to be using hot glue on this thing. So I'm going to be using Captain Tape. You can heat it up all you want, and it doesn't really make any difference to it at all, except for letting the adhesive go a little bit. But I'm not going to be heating all of the adhesive. With that stretched pad over there holding the gap closed, I can turn it over, cover it in brand new hot glue from my brand new hot glue gun. I like hot glue. And maybe even stick a piece of actual garbage over the top of it. The plastic will go soft when it hits the hot. Ow, 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 ow. Wow, this hot glue is hotter than my other hot glue. This piece of plastic is literally a piece of garbage out of my bin. But I think it works well. And while we're waiting for that to set, we can try and reassemble the cartridge flap. Judging by the other one, this little spring is the one that I need. And this is hard to put in. I am going to lose this spring. It keeps escaping me. So I did get it back in, but I can see why this popped out. It's because the metal shaft is only just at the ends. It doesn't go across the middle, so it means the cartridge flaps don't flex in the middle and then dislocate at the end. Hopefully, because nobody's going to be beating the absolute heck out of this thing again, it will stay in place though. The broken piece of PCB I had to fix because there are only 2 screws holding that board down, so I glued the corner back on and then glued a random washer over the top of it. The other stray spring turned out to be from the eject button, which feels a lot nicer now. Not that I would ever use it to get the cartridge out because old plastic is old. And my glue's finally cooled down, so look at the good boy now. He's playing games. He finally deserves to be smiling. He's so happy about the way we've treated him, he even invited a friend over. They can be good boys together. And what good boys they are. That's it. The Good Boy by Taiwan. It's a Famiclone, but it's not just a NES on a chip like all the modern ones. They actually put some effort into this guy. He really is a good boy. If you want early ad-free access to all my videos, plus a photo of each video game related thing that I get, because I've been collecting video games for a long time and I'm always getting new stuff, you can join me.
Five Nights at Freddy's is a game that needs no introduction. Gary's Mod is a game that needs no introduction. One of the most popular PC games of all time versus one of the most popular horror games of all time. These are kind of inseparable games. Which is very weird, because on a surface level, they seem like they wouldn't be related at all, but, you know, people have dumped so much FNAF content in the Gmod workshop, and, I mean, it's just kind of wonderful. In the early days of the fandom, this was the easiest and most accessible way to experience Five Nights at Freddy's in 3D, and it was very, very cool to see. And although the maps, models, and add-ons have clearly advanced quite a substantial amount throughout the years, there's still something specifically endearing about those old add-ons. There's a certain charm to the 2014 through 2016 era of FNAF Gmod content, and I feel like it's something that can't really be recaptured. And I've wanted to do this video for quite a while, paying tribute to what I believe to be still the best Five Nights at Freddy's map in the entirety of Garry's Mod. And this is a map simply titled Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Or a series of maps themed around a specific Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location. I wasn't actually done, I just wanted to be dramatic. Now, the original creator has actually taken down the original versions of these maps, so I'll be playing re-uploads for this video, but there is an updated version of the map posted by the original creator, which I will be checking out. As it is, to my knowledge, the only officially authorized way from the creator to play the map nowadays. But I feel like before we actually get into this map, it's important to look at what we had before it released. The boom is going to be real this time. Now, one of the earliest playable pieces of FNAF fan content was actually the original Garry's Mod map, which was made by these people, and it's an extremely iconic thing in the fandom. And for being released so quickly after the original game had released, it is a surprisingly faithful recreation. It is a full recreation of Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but within Garry's Mod. The full pizzeria is here, including some rooms that you can't see in the actual FNAF 1. This map, while it's not too fun to play sandbox on because it's very, very small, that's not what it was intended for. If you go into the backstage and turn on the power, you can go into the main office and the animatronics begin to move, and it basically just becomes a recreation of FNAF 1, which is very, very impressive within Garry's Mod, especially for the time. But there is a kind of an issue with it because it's not an entirely accurate recreation. I've played this mode for quite a bit, and I have no idea when the night is supposed to end, and I also have no idea how the character AI is supposed to work. Because, like, they just seem to go to a random location on the map whenever they please. Like, Bonnie went straight from the show stage to the supply closet when I played, and I don't know how that happened. And I definitely wouldn't call it a worthy substitute to playing the actual version of Five Nights at Freddy's 1. That being said, not a bad recreation. And definitely the best way if you want to play FNAF with friends. Freddy's jump scare in the map is identical to his original FNAF 1 jump scare. However, Bonnie and Chica did receive some special jump scares for the map, and they're neat looking, I guess. And Foxy also got an original jump scare because his original jump scare in FNAF 1 wouldn't really work in this context. But I think this map definitely holds up pretty well. The 1/6 NIS FNAF models are definitely dated, but they have an undeniable charm that really encapsulates the early days of the FNAF fandom, and I'm always happy to see them. There's also a visible outdoor version of this map, which is kind of barren and you can't actually go outside, but it's appreciated nonetheless. I don't know what to tell this guy in the window, but he's there. So to start off with this map, I think it's only appropriate to start looking at the main area where you spawn in the map, which is the parking lot of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Now, this is a pretty nice looking area. There's cars parked out here. It's very large.
I think these are extra pieces. Pretty fair to say that.
And I do really like the city skyline in this one. They tend to make Freddy's feel like more of an actual place, even if it is substantially bigger and more detailed than every other building around here. You can even see some strange Freddy Fazbear's Pizza competitor building in the distance, which I'm not really sure this is supposed to be, but it's a neat detail. You enter the pizzeria, and you're met with a kitchen desk with a menu above it, and the menu is used from another FNAF map, which is the FNAF 2 map on TV. Many of the assets in this map were taken from the FNAF 2 map from Garry's Mod, which is fine. Although some of these assets don't really fit in, like you'll see later with the arcade machine. Got some soda machines here, just your standard check-in desk, nothing really too fancy. Which is Theory screenshot that the map was based on, which is really funny. And I feel like it's probably a good time to go on a little side tangent about this pizzeria, because it's actually a real Chuck E. Cheese location located in Indiana. And I would honestly argue this is one of the most iconic Chuck E. Cheese locations ever, just because of how iconic the exterior is. I feel like when a lot of people think of Chuck E. Cheese, this is the image that comes to their mind. And I just wanted to say this because it's a big shame that pretty recently, as in like 2021, I believe, the place was remodeled. And it's looking kind of rough now. You can see this Chibi Freddy art, which was also on the sign of the pizzeria, and I'm not really sure where this is from, or if the creator made it, or it was taken from Google or something, but this image is in the map about twice. It's in the check-in desk, and it's out in the front of the pizzeria, and I'm not really sure what's up with it. I don't know why it's not just like a regular image, but oh well. You can see the FNAF 2 drawings on the wall. This is a nice little area to start the pizzeria with. You can go into the backstage here, where you will see just a bunch of shelves and stuff, nothing really interesting. But then there's this arcade machine for the Save Them minigame from FNAF 2, which features a note on it that reads, "Listen, Frank, I don't care if your brother made the damn game. This is not appropriate for children. Leah." Now, I don't think this is really relevant to this map's lore, or the lore of the original FNAF 2 map, now that I think about it. I'm not sure what this note was ever meant to mean, but this has been in a lot of FNAF maps, in that original FNAF 2 map, and I don't really know what it's supposed to mean. I don't know who Liam and Frank are. I don't know who Frank's brother is, but yeah, something's going on here, I'm sure, but I'm not really sure, and I don't really think it's relevant to the full story of this, but I guess it could be because the developer left it in here, so I guess I don't know. It's very weird. I'm not sure what's up with this. Now, this map does have a few additions to the original FNAF map you might expect, and one of them is the manager's office, and honestly, not really sure what's up with this room. I mean, it's very, very large. Like, there's so much empty space in this room. There's no windows or anything. It's just a very odd room, I guess. I don't know. You'd think that it would be a bit smaller, I guess, because, like, the desk space takes up, like, 2% of this entire floor space. Why is this room so large? It's not even like they'd hold meetings in here either, because it's not like there's extra seats or anything. I'm not really sure what was up with this. But yeah, I guess whoever is the CEO or manager in this universe just really wanted a lot of office space. Maybe like runs laps around it. But right outside the manager's office and another door, we can see the party rooms, which are another pretty boring area of the map. I'm not really sure why though. I guess it's just because there's not really a lot of open space, or there's too little open space, but I don't know. This area is not very fun to sit around in. I haven't really used it much in my time using this map throughout the years, but it's appreciated. Heading right past the parts and services room, we can see the main dining area with the show stage and Pirates Cove, and this is a fantastic area. It is just the right size, there's just the right amount of open space, the stages are very, very big. I love this area. And it really just enables a lot of freedom and possibilities for how you can decorate this location for saves, or how you can mess around in it for sandbox. I think this is a very, very easy area to play around in. The stage being so large seems odd, but also it means you could fit like 20 animatronics on it, which I don't mind at all. Pirates Cove is also a lot more of a blank slate rather than a full-on Pirates Cove, like there's no curtain or anything, which I honestly think is pretty cool. There's also the obligatory bathrooms in this map, which like, yeah, the pizzeria needs them, but also they're just kind of bathrooms, not really much to say. This map also has a rarity for FNAF maps, which is a fully featured kitchen, which looks very, very nice actually. There's a freezer room in the back, even though that's not even a freezer, and it's kind of weird. Like, what do you mean the freezer doesn't freeze things? I guess it's just a storage room, but weird. Going down the left hallway will lead you towards a doorway that has the party room, just another entrance to them. There's also the supply closet I mentioned earlier, which is pretty uneventful. Then we can find the security office, which I'll admit is pretty boring, but I do really like the feature of the window in the back of the office. I think it's a very, very cool idea, and I wish more FNAF games really tried to put something behind you in the office, because I feel like that just adds a lot more tension to gameplay. Going back into this area, we will find not much, but we will find this weird plushie. Thank you to Bulbasquirtle for joining me on this awesome daytime map.
What is this? It didn't load in. What is this weird plush on the thing? It's like a cat or something.
Yeah, nobody knows what this is. This is just a thing that's on the map. I don't know what the fuck this is.
Let's bring him to the roof and throw him off the roof.
Alright, I'm gonna throw him.
Do it. Try to yeet him as far. Oh my god. Where's the Oh yeah, and then in your classic Venturian Tale video, then they'd have like the little camera pull out and then they'd zoom in on it. Yeah, get that beautiful shot.
Oh yeah. There's also the game area from FNAF 2 in this map, which is nice. It has some arcade machines here, kind of a small arcade though. And then the prize counter is also here. Seems like it was kind of a thing for old FNAF maps to just not really know what arcades are supposed to look like. And this is nothing unique to this map. Scott's guilty of this himself. I'm glad Security Breach in the movie kind of introduced what arcades are supposed to look like in the FNAF, because that's always been something very weird to me in the early days of FNAF, how like there wasn't a single fan-made location that had a legit arcade. Going back to the office, there is another room over here, which is quite an interesting one. It is basically just this little breaker room thing. We're not really sure what this weird computer is, to be honest. But then we've got William Afton's workshop back here, which is very interesting. Reminds me a lot of the movie, honestly, and I'm really glad he's here.
Security camera system, I'd imagine.
And if you walk into a certain door in this room, you'll find a certain someone. Oh yeah, walk through this door. Walk through that door. No, that door.
I was gonna say, let's just be outside. My god.
So yeah, a lot of these maps have hidden purple guy jump scares if you walk into certain rooms. I believe there's 3 purple guy jump scares across all the maps, so interesting. Now the roof of the map does have a big open area, which I think is nice to have on a map like this. I think it's definitely very useful for sandbox. One very funny thing though is that the roof has a helicopter pad. For the helicopters that land on top of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it makes sense. And yeah, that basically covers all our bases for the original daytime version of the map. And this map still holds up pretty dang well, honestly. I think it works really well as a sandbox map still. I think it works well as a FNAF location still. It's just a very, very fun map, and I really, really enjoy it. And even after all these years, it has not gotten old. So now we're going to dive into the more obscure corners of this map, which is all of the various alternate versions of it, which there are a shocking amount of them. Like, there are so many versions of this map, and they all are just like slightly different versions of the same pizzeria, outside of Fazbear's Fright, which we will look at. So the nighttime version, I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's basically what you expect. It is a darker, spookier version of the same map, with minimal changes, which is all it needs to be. It's the same map, but if you want it to have spookier lighting, which is cool. Although the William Afton back room of this map is missing for some reason, like the door just doesn't lead anywhere and you can't open it or anything. Not really sure why they removed the room for the nighttime version, but yeah, that kind of makes this a downgrade, but it's still cool.
Dude, I swear if Freddy Fazbear tries to sell me insurance again, I'm gonna scream.
What?
Also, thank you to Dags for joining me on this section. So, you're probably wondering, what the heck does a Freddy Pizza Old mean? Well, you could assume that it's Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, like, in the future after it's abandoned, like the building is old now. But, no, it's actually, like, old, as in, like, in the past. Back when it used to be Fredbear's Family Diner. Ignore the fact that that's just regular Freddy on the sign. I swear, this is Fredbear's Family Diner. Look, it says it right there. Of course it is.
Me, C-O-E. To children every day, the end.
This is awesome. There's really
me.
So yeah, this is the first really lore-heavy map of this series, which makes sense since, you know, it is Fredbear's. It is canonically the earliest one in the timeline. Or at least I think, because there is a poster of Toy Freddy in the supply closet. I think this is left here by accident because I don't think this is supposed to be here because it makes no sense timeline-wise. I guess not even the creators of the map cared about the supply closet. But there's tons of cryptic lore of this map that shows us that there are, in fact, 4 different purple guys, a blue guy named GM, and a red guy who is the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment. We know that 2 of these purple guys wore suits. One of them wore the purple Freddy suit and the other one wore the golden Freddy suit. And that the one in the purple Freddy suit both controls the animatronic and is the one making all these notes on the wall. We can even get a jump scare from him on this very map.
Okay.
There's so many versions of this map.
Oh god, purple guy.
And we also know that another one of the purple guys is the phone guy, who is also the security guard. Some other things that are probably worth noting is that Pink Guy apparently did wear the purple Freddy suit at one point, even though he's supposed to be the one wearing the golden Freddy suit. Spring Bonnie does exist in this continuity, but it's really not really known who actually wore the Spring Bonnie suit. And that there's also a Red Freddy who is the CEO's bear costume. There is not, to my knowledge, there is not a single appearance of this Red Freddy in any of the maps outside of one room in the credits of the final version of the map. So, I'm not really sure what's up with this guy. In the room right behind where the purple guy jump scare is, we can see a torn apart Freddy animatronic, which I assume is supposed to be the scene from FNAF 3 where he goes into the safe room and tears apart the animatronics back there after luring them in with the Shadow Freddy suit, which would add up honestly more in this continuity than it does in the game continuity, because this is the only instance of William using the purple Freddy suit in the game continuity, and it's really funny. But in this continuity, the purple Freddy suit is William's suit. That is the one that he used. But yeah, a lot of interesting lore in this map, but not a whole lot of actual new things to the map. There's honestly less content than there was before, but I guess the new room is cool. Kind of weird that it replaces the bathrooms though, because now the building has no bathrooms. And there's also obviously several instances in this map of toy animatronic branding, which means that this map could possibly take place after the other maps, which would honestly make sense going off of the drawings, but it is very interesting to think about how in this continuity, Fredbear's Family Diner was probably a rebrand that happened after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is just such a weird thing to have, but it's interesting. I respect this map so much for how much lore it tries to have. Even if I don't understand much of it, I think it's so interesting. A lot of fan content tries to be respectful to the canon, but just ends up being biased towards certain theories. But this just says, screw all of that, I'm going to make a completely different story than the one in the games. And you know what? That's respectable. I don't really know where else I would mention this, so I'm also going to mention that Shadow Freddy, or Purple Freddy, he's called Purple Freddy in this universe. Purple Freddy was an actual animatronic that existed, but then it appears to kind of convey that William kind of took the innards out of the animatronic and then used it as a suit. Or if his name is actually William, it might be Vincent or something, going off of this era of the fandom. But yeah, there was just a Purple Freddy animatronic that was just a regular animatronic at the pizzeria that William basically skinned and wore, so that's awesome. But yeah, I guess it's about time we move on to the next
So that'll basically
series, which is
like that. What the fuck?
Now, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Kill Case is both one of the most interesting maps and also one of the least fun to play on. There's some crazy lighting stuff going on with this map, with the lightning striking and the police car in the front, and it is all very, very laggy with all the constantly changing lighting on the map. There's not really much different at all about the interior of the pizzeria with this map, so there's not really much I can comment on. There's just kind of some blood in random places, not really anything interesting. However, the front entrance of the pizzeria now has a big condemned sign, There are police cars outside which are specifically for Westmont, Illinois, and we can see 5 body bags, which are supposedly the missing children. So yeah, in this continuity, they just found them, I guess, which I will say is a very interesting way to take a FNAF story. I don't know I guess they just found the kids. Happy ending, maybe. I don't. Well, I guess not happy because they still die. Just a very, very weird detail.
I just realized it's really fucking loud.
So the kids were found. I just think that's really interesting. I'm not sure what the purpose of this plot revelation is, but it sure did happen in this universe. And also, the back room of the pizzeria is indeed locked, which means that William's likely back there, hiding from the cops, who are currently outside. They also got some military cars out here, which I think is awesome. I like the thing about the army swarming Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. There's also a big emblem on one of the walls in the pizzeria, which is a logo that features a bat, and it's for a place called the Scientific Research and Development. And this bat might look a bit familiar, because it is actually the same character as the plushie in the back room of the pizzeria. And there's also an animatronic version with a just beautiful looking model who does make an appearance in the lobbies of the events version and the remastered version, but it doesn't seem to have any actual appearances on the maps itself. And there doesn't really seem to be a lot of info on what the Scientific Research and Development Organization is and why they have an animatronic based on their character and the plushie inside of the children's pizzeria. It's kind of weird. But hopefully by the end of this investigation, we will know a little bit more about this fella. And there's one more little lore detail on this map that I'm not really too sure about. And that's this weird thing on the wall. Now, it didn't actually load on my screen, but for some reason on Dag's screen, it did show up, and it's this strange whiteboard.
It's like a drawing for me.
There's nothing there on my screen. Send me a screenshot.
It says friends and park.
Send me a screenshot. I can't see this. All right, let me look here. Oh my gosh, your quality is terrible. This is rendered in like 144p.
Oh, what the hell? Is this one better?
Yeah. Now, as to what this can mean, your guess is probably as good as mine. You can see an amusement park with balloons and tents and a Ferris wheel in the background, a bunch of bears and bunnies with bow ties. It says friends and park in the corner. You can see one of the bears is crossed off, and it says die directly beneath it. I literally do not know what character this could be meant to be drawn by, so if you have any ideas, leave it in the comments because I'm kind of stumped on this one. All of the other drawings in the building clearly appear to be drawn by the same character, but this is very deliberately in a different style.
I don't know how to react to that one. You're feeling boneless?
You know nothing about. But yeah, that about
Oh, I think I know what you're
I
saying.
have to say about Freddy Pizza Kill Case. And since this has easily been the most lore-heavy section of the video, I think it's an appropriate time to mention probably one of the most obscure pieces related to this whole thing, but also arguably the most impressive. What if I told you there was a full animated series based on the backstory of this specific Gmod map, and it's also very well made, and it's also the craziest fan fiction I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, does that pique your interest? I think to just straight up explain the plot of the series to you guys would both be a very difficult task and also would be a disservice to the series. Because the most viewed episode of the series has under 300 views right now. And that's a shame, in my opinion. Because not only is this series extremely, shockingly well animated, but it's also just crazy, and I almost respect just the sheer insanity of the decisions that the creator made with the series. Everything about this series is absolutely nuts, and I think it is genuinely one of the most entertaining fan fictions I've ever watched, just out of sheer insanity. So it starts off how you'd expect it with William Afton killing the kids and stuff, but then it turns into a battle between all the different employees of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for a bunch of literal gold. William Afton kills everybody becomes partners up with the shadow government, and he has to defeat his evil coworkers and stuff, or he's evil, I don't know. I don't know who's the good guy in the series. Everybody is literally an antagonist. I don't think there's a single character
Come
in the
on.
series that is actually a good guy.
Most difficult part of this entire set is trying to push this axle in.
The interpretation of Scott's FNAF lore is that every single individual purple guy sprite that we see in FNAF 2 and 3 is a completely different person.
No.
And that's crazy, but it's also kind of funny, and I love it. It's very unnecessary, but the series really doesn't care about that. It's just here to do whatever the hell it wants and tell whatever the heck this story is supposed to be about. William Afton joins the shadow government at one point, and he has to take down the military of several different countries. He hires the Russian military to give him a nuke. He goes to Black Mesa from Half-Life at one point. I just want to say, if you love crazy fan fictions or just like crazy series in general, go watch this. Like, it barely has anything to do with FNAF. Like, it completely loses the plot after like episode 2, but it is genuinely the craziest thing I've ever seen in this community, and I think it is so criminally underappreciated. That being said, though, the creator of this is a complete weirdo. He's got some very, very
Gotta
damning
switch
stuff
Windows back
in his
to the
Twitter
computer.
media tab, so I'm going to give a extremely strong advisory to not go on his like Twitter account and stuff. It's like, this guy's a kind of a creep. So yeah, I feel like that is just like 100% worth mentioning. This guy's a creep, so maybe just like stay away from his Twitter. I think the creator of this might be an actual crazy person. I'm gonna be completely honest. For context of where it is, there are explicit images of underage fictional characters, which is obviously extremely weird. And yeah, I do not in any way support the weird guy's into. He's weirdo. I'm just here to talk about his funny FNAF series, but yeah, the thing
Okay, where's that game?
A very, very, very weird person, and I would not recommend contacting or talking to
There it
him.
is.
Or just like engaging with any of his other socials other than just like his YouTube and stuff to watch the series. But yeah, I'm probably just as disappointed as you are to hear that this guy's a creep. On to the events map now. So, if you don't know what an events map means, well, I literally talked about this earlier in the video, but it's basically a map where things can happen and there's kind of a story-ish. Basically just Garry's Mod maps that have their own self-contained games within them. And this map has one of those, and it's honestly pretty impressive. I'd say it's probably more well-made than the original FNAF map, but that could just be because it probably reused a lot of assets from that. But either way, the animatronic AI does work a lot better in this one, which is good. It does function better objectively, but I don't quite think it gets the idea of what makes a FNAF game fun quite right, because this map has a very similar layout to FNAF 1, just with a few extra rooms. But there's about, like,
Purple Freddy just staring at us in the background.
Puppet, plus Golden Freddy, plus Shadow Freddy. So, as you could probably assume, the roster of this map is pretty dang bloated. Especially for a map where every single animatronic has the exact same mechanic of simply closing the door on them. So it gets a little tiring when there's like 20 different animatronics in the pizzeria and they all literally do the exact same thing except for the puppet. And after watching Case's minigames, I feel like this is the best time in the video to mention that I said some misinformation earlier for parts of the video that I recorded before I knew that the series existed. This is not William Afton. This is a different guy who calls himself Freddy of King. This is William Afton. Specifically the pink guy is William Afton, who wear the golden Freddy suit. So, just so you guys know, that is not William Afton. That's a different purple guy. I just wanted the lobby. So the lobby starts off in this strange small room with a desk, some plushies, a map of the pizzeria, and a lot of buttons to select different game modes. It also has a weird alphabet carpet on the ground. I'm not really sure why this is here, but I guess you can learn your ABCs on this map. And then in the door there is a control room which features Purple Freddy, who is controlling controlling all the animatronics as was established in the drawings earlier, and this is a pretty neat scene. I'm not really sure why he's here or why there's like little tiny animatronics all over the table. I'm not really sure what the significance of these are, but they're here. There's also a bunch of artwork on the wall that just like shoots you in the face with nostalgia. This is so crazy to look at nowadays. And there is a mechanic in this map where other players can actually control the animatronics using this room, which I honestly think is a pretty dang cool feature. I do believe the original FNAF map had this to some degree, but it wasn't this sophisticated. Now, the phone calls in this map are directly reused from FNAF 2 and 3, which is kind of odd considering those are very not fitting towards what this map looks like. They even cut down the FNAF 2 phone calls to remove any mention of there being no doors or needing to wear the mask because obviously this map is built off
I have
FNAF
17
1
frames
mechanics.
already.
But Phone Guy still mentions the older
Individual
models
frames
in the
of
back room
build
when
stages.
the older models are right on front of the stage. So
3 per
I'm not
section
really sure
now.
what's up with that. If you use the FNAF 1 phone calls for this map, you wouldn't have to change anything, really. Just a very strange decision there. On night 3, it also just randomly plays a FNAF 3 Springlock tape, but, yeah. Nothing too interesting about the phone calls since they are just recycled from FNAF 2 and 3, but I thought it was worth mentioning that they're kind of weirdly unfitting. The animatronics in this map on the early nights do follow their pathing pretty well, but on the later nights they will just jump straight to your office if they feel like it, which does make the game much more hectic on the later nights, which I think is intentional. But it is a little strange how they don't really go through any sort of pathing once you get to the later nights.
Startled me.
The animatronics still do move quite a bit though, especially Foxy, who you can actually watch run down the hallway, which is very cool. And as you can probably tell at this point, the toy animatronics are acting at the same time as the regular animatronics in this map, and it kind of doesn't really add that much. Although they do make pretty funny faces. Like, look at Toy Freddy here. Why is he so concerned? Look at Toy Freddy. Hi, Toy Freddy. He's sad. Why is he sad?
Why is he sad?
Why is he so sad? What happened to him? The window in the back of the office is used here for Easter eggs. There is a Golden Freddy Easter egg and a Purple Freddy Easter egg in this window, which I did get both of. However, there is another one which I didn't get, which involves this giant bat, and I'll play a clip of it right now.
¿Qué ha pasado? ¡Míralo! ¡Hay un murciélago! ¡Detrás! ¿Qué es eso? Lo están viendo. ¿Ves? Igual, lo están viendo. Hay un murciélago en la...
This Easter egg is actually kind of crazy, and I really wanted to get it, but I just couldn't, very sadly. A big issue with this map, gameplay-wise, is the fact that there's 5 nights, which is very, very cool, and there's also bonus nights, and the bonus nights can be selected whenever you want, but the original 5 nights have to be played all in a row, back-to-back, which is obviously a bit tiring when the gameplay is this mind-numbing. The music box with the puppet in this map is also extremely finicky, so there's an off chance that it just won't work, and when that happens, the puppet killing you sends you all the way back to night 1.
What?
Which is terrible. But hey, look at Purple
Yeah,
Freddy.
that is
He's
terrible.
on the map. Look at him. He's so cool. Man, I love Purple Freddy, guys. Is Purple Freddy your favorite FNAF character after this video? He's mine. Golden Freddy in this map basically just acts like a regular animatronic, except he can still do the thing where he shows up in your office as an Easter egg, but I don't believe there's a way to defend against him. I think he literally will just kill you if he shows up like that, which is so fun. It's not really that big of an issue though, because I didn't mention this before, but being jump scared in this map has no penalty. Like, you can just walk back through the door and you're perfectly fine back to the night where you were. The only animatronic that resets the night is the puppet. So although this map does take a bit, it is 100% doable as long as the puppet doesn't get you. Because no matter how bad you are at the game, as long as the music box is wound up, you can make it to night 5. Which is obviously extremely broken. I'd like my FNAF game to be challenging in some way, but oh well. The good thing about the map is that the nights aren't too horribly long. They're pretty decent length. Which is good, because if nights like this were too long, then man, this game would just not be playable. But for being essentially an entire original FNAF fan game made entirely in Gmod, it's very, very impressive. It is probably the most authentic Source Engine FNAF game you could possibly play out there. And although the game is pretty clunky in a lot of ways, it does blend together the feeling of Garry's Mod and Half-Life with the feeling of FNAF pretty decently. The large open design of the map is clearly designed for how fast you run in Garry's Mod, and although it's a bit unconventional for a FNAF pizzeria, it feels very good to play around in. And I also think its method of blending FNAF 1 and 2 together is pretty decent, even if all of FNAF 2's mechanics besides the music box were kinda lost in translation. If you're going to play this map, I would 1000% recommend playing with a friend, because that just makes the experience of building.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh! Oh! Ah, ah, oh God! What the fuck? What the fuck? Freddy's help wanted. Oh! How you doing over there? Oh yeah, yeah. What are you? Huh? What are you? Wait a minute! Wait! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Wait! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Who? Hey! Hi! Are you down there? Hi! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh! Not dead, and I don't get it. Where is he? Is he even in on the first night? Is he gonna be in on the?
No, he's not in the first night, Mark.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh God! Okay, night's almost over. Bad. Ah! Oh, put it on my head! Put it on! Get it off my face! He's still there, which is fine. So long as I can see him. What the fucking fucker, Doc of Fuck? Well, I screwed this setup. Shit! What the fuck? You little piece of shit! There you go. Okay, you ain't. Oh, you ain't. Oh, you think. Oh, you think. Wait. No, stop. Wait. Wait. Oh, you think. What the fuck? Sorry. I get it now. I remember that. Wait, but what? Didn't they say something about there being something out this hall?
Oh.
Yeah. Door. Oh, fuck! Oh, God! I was the other one! Ooh, Foxy, okay. I don't know what. What? No! Wait a minute! Oh, fucking what? Alright. Oh, fuck! God, why? God, fuck you! She's a little ugly, but we're gonna make her pretty. A doinkus, a doinkus, a doinkus! Fix that beak right up. That's not supposed to be there. A boom! Help me, big sis. No. Oh, fucking God! Okay. Oh my God. What? Shit. Okay, here comes Chica, but that's okay. Chica, just go marching on. Chica's go marching on. Oh,
Isn't that cool?
Whoa!
Perfectly rounded. That's fucking
No.
awesome.
Okay. Yeah, as you should. Oh, fuck. Okay. Okay, you're fine. It's fine. Okay, that's fine. God, the original. I swear to God, the original. Oh, fuck. Holy shit. Okay, that's too close. Okay, you're done? Oh my God. Oh my God. What the fucking God? Whatever. Is it under your tootsies? Is it down here? Whoa, I don't know. Oh, yeah, it could be. Oh, fucking God!
Definitely. Place the music. Great job.
Oh, God! But wait, what do I do? Oh, God. Okay, you're there. Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Oh, there, and that one.
There it is.
What do for a little bit. So all I can do with my time here is judge you. I think your color combination is deplorable, which means bad, in case your brain was too small to understand what deplorable meant, which, judging by that blank, deer-like expression on your face, is accurate. So you're stupid and I'm smart. If you want to...
I don't know what that is all about. I haven't got the foggiest what that's all about. And I don't know what I'm supposed to...
About to fight some big ones. Big ones are about to be bit. You know, I'm just gonna leave it plugged. Okay, see?
No, I don't want to eat it.
Eat it.
Ah, fuck God! Oh, got your head. What are you gonna do? Stuff me in an endoskeleton? Can't. More stuff. What are you gonna do about it, nerd? Get with the program, loser. Yeah, suck some of this dong. It's the best. Oh shit, you there? Oh yeah, you're there. Oh, you're not there yet. Oh, you're not there yet. I can't.
Oh, that is supposed to be
Okay,
that.
I'm
Okay,
about to
never
close
mind.
the door. No! Oh, Rick! I got a light! Don't do it! Oh, fucking... Oh! Stop.
Who moved?
Wait, who's there?
Who moved?
Oh. Hi, peekaboo. Peekaboo. Peekaboo Paris. Oh my God! Good night, sweetums. I love you. Wait. No, who are you? Who are you? What the fuck is that about? Alright, that's normal. That was normal. Oh, fuck. Wait, normal. That was just a normal noise that happened.
Hi.
Oh my gosh!
Hello.
Hi. Okay, alright, he's still there, which is fine. So long as I can see him. Oh my God! What the fucking fucker duck of that? What was that? You think. Wait. No, stop, wait. Oh, you think. What the fuck? Sorry. What in the bitch ass? No. 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 Okay.
I guess you forgot about me.
Who? Where? Why? What? Who? Where? And why? Who? And where? And why? Ah! Fucking what?
Who are you? Oh,
This was
Oh, shit.
my birthday.
It's not your birthday.
Would you have a gift for me?
No. What?
Deaf.
What the fuck? Like that. And if they get too shaky, they ain't no happy. I get it. I understand. I'm the same way. Ooh, hi. Peekaboo. Whoa. Oh, that's not good. Hi! Oh, fuck! Hi! Whoa! Oh, shit. That's not good. Ooh, I hate that. I'll take it. Hey! Hi! Oh, fuck me. Good. Unless she doesn't. Unless I can time it so that she doesn't see me.
2, 1.
Oh, no, she sees me no matter what. Whoa, boy. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna die horribly. Hello. Hi.
Hello. Hi, big bunny. How you doing?
Why does he look different in the VR game than he does in
I hope that
the original? What the
remember
fuck?
me from last time when I kicked your ass. Do you remember? Whoa!
Dude, why? Why do you open? I don't. Alright, you know what? Fuck you, BB. Come get me. Come on. You think I'm scared of you? Huh? You think I'm scared of you? Yeah, come on. Do it. Come on, do it. Hey, come on. Yeah. What do you got? Nothing? Oh, that's what I thought. I thought you got a whole lot of nothing. I thought I have a whole lot of something. You got a whole lot of nothing. Come on! Hey! Alright. Dorcas. Too soon? Too soon. I got the tape up here. Nerd! Whoa, big nerd. Okay.
Well done. Perfect 72 degrees.
I didn't get. Whoa! Hey! Whoa!
Do you think I'm gonna get this? Here, I'm gonna feed this to you. Oh no!
Hey! Is there someone there or is there someone not? Stop! Holy shit. You're not there anymore. What the fuck? Are you there? Okay, you're not. Ah! Fuck, Dylan. Do it. Oh, holy shit. That's awful. I hate that. There we go. Come on. I'm ready for you. Take some of these. Ah! Close, button, power. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be real close. Whoa! Whoa! Fucking God! Oh, where is he? Oh, got him. Oh shit. Oh, 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 fuck. Oh, oh, ah, ah, God, fuck, damn it, fuck.
Jeremy complained of nightmares when he came in this morning.
Did he?
He wasn't talking about it like Santa
What?
and
Damn,
friend
did
with
that
all
wrong.
his dreams
What?
stuff.
Hey, whoa,
It was
what the
weird.
fuck? You
Looked like he
not
had
here.
nightmares.
No.
He said he had it
Where is he? What? Excuse me? What? Come in? What? Wait a minute. What? How did you? Yes. Woo! 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 He's an event, isn't he? Oh shit! Really. Ooh, ooh, okay. All right, a little more. What? You just moved. Wait, you were. Ah! What? Oh! Ah! Oh!
Alright,
Hi!
so I did do that
Okay.
correctly.
Hey, how you doing? Oh boy!
Because
They're
then
ready for you. Ah!
it goes like that goes like that.
Not this way. Whoa! Hi.
But then,
How are you?
where the fuck did...
Can I help you? No. There you are.
Aha! Yep.
This is this. This goes here.
I thought I forgot a piece.
Okay. That is creepy. Oh no! Don't do that.
Oh no, don't do that.
Oh, that's horrible. Wait! I'm trying to not die. Hey,
Hello.
what's over there? You fucking Iowa stupid moron. Oh, you take both of them inside that head of yours. Whoa, fuck. Okay, all right. Okay, we're not joking around here. You ain't so tough now that you're small, huh? Oh, this is the fist of justice. No, please, not like this. No, please. It's too late for you, Scoob. Oh yeah, it does. Okay, so it is kind of logical. Okay, so I what the fuck was? Oh, hi. Oh boy, can I have this? You mind? Thank you. What the fuck? Oh shit. Oh, fucking hi. Is there another one? Oh my god. Ooh, hey, listen. You know what? Actually, come give me a hug. Give me a hug. All right, cool.
A slow and even pace is recommended.
Is it now? Is a slow and even pace recommended? Ah, fucking cock! Who the hell do you think you are? Is my question to you. Do you know who I am? Do you see this crown on my head? Do you know what I will do to you if you even come a little bit close to me? I ripped Freddy apart. I ripped his chest off of his chest. And I will do the same to your cape and your ball sack and your ears. I'll replace them all. You look stupid as hell. Don't